Hi guys, Mark Dawes, NFPS Limited, and in this video I want to respond to an email that someone sent me with a really interesting question on it. And the question we've been asked is how is it that you manage to train restraint instructors in 5 days when it takes someone like a martial artist, for example, 5 years to become a black belt and become an instructor? Now this question was sent in by someone with over 25 years experience in actually teaching in martial arts and teaching police officers officer safety training. So it's a fair question, so I thought I'd answer that because it warrants a fair answer. Well, first things first, I mean, when you look at anyone where they are at their current moment in time, what you see is a snapshot of where they are right now. And what you don't see are the 5, 10, 15 or 20 or 30 years even that lead up to that point. So if you're an athlete, they'll see you on the track on that day and you'll be judged on how you perform. And what they don't see is the months and years of investment in time and effort to get you where you are. And it's the same in business and it's the same in every walk of life. And the reason I mention that is we're doing a 5-day course, but it's taken us 20 odd years to get to the point where we can deliver a course effectively over a 5-day period. But let me just explain to you how we do that and what makes that work. When we first started this business many, many years ago, we asked ourselves one simple question, and that was this: is what we're doing keeping people safer? And that fundamental question is what started the whole business 20 odd years ago. And that question is still at the forefront of our minds today. So in everything we do, we always ask this fundamental question: is what we're doing keeping people safer? And that has a number of perspectives on it. We're talking about you as a trainer. We're talking about you as an organisation. We're talking about the people you train and also the people who force will be used on. So we look at this from every angle and we always ask that one question: is what we're doing keeping people safer? Now, what also underpins that philosophy, if you like, are two principles that we apply throughout our business. And they're Occam's razor and the Pareto principle. Now, Occam was a 14th century monk who basically figured out that elegance is the least amount of steps you need to take to get from point A to point B. And therefore, if you keep things simple, stupid, that's normally the most elegant way of doing things. And what we tend to do as human beings is complicate matters and go all around the bazaars trying to figure out whether we were right in the first place and normally come back to that initial conclusion. So we apply that particular principle in areas of the business, and one particular area are physical techniques. So we'll look at the techniques and say, okay, can that technique be done in the least amount of steps it takes to do it? And by doing that, we cut out a lot of convoluted and complex stuff that really doesn't need to be taught. Because if it's complex and it's too abstract and there's too many component parts to it, someone can't get that, then it fails at the first principle, because obviously we can't keep people safe if the person who needs to use force on that person can't do the technique. So that's how that one links in. The other principle we apply is the Pareto principle, or as some of you know it, the 80-20 rule. And what that basically means is that 80% of your business, for example, will come from 20% of your customers. 80% of your effectiveness, if you like, will come from 20% of your efforts. And someone once said that 80% of divorces come from 20% of marriage. I mean, I don't know. I mean, you can check that one out yourself. But basically the 80-20 rule, the Pareto principle, is a very, very well-tested and well-researched principle. So if you look at business overall, you can find that most businesses, 80% of their productivity will come from 20% of their efforts. So that means that the other 80% is not productive. So we started to look at this into our business all those years ago and said, right, if we're going to work to this first principle, which is keeping people safe, and the question that we had was, is what we're doing keeping people safer? We need to basically cut out complex stuff, i.e. working with Occam's razor. But we also need to look at what we're doing and saying, is what we're doing meeting that first principle? And we found that we could cut out an awful lot of stuff that wasn't productive. And on a training course I was on many, many years ago, it was a 5-week training course. And what we found was, and I'm sure you found many things the same, is a lot of it either didn't work or didn't make sense. And also it was compounded by a lot of negative instruction. So a lot of the instruction that I was exposed to was, you can't do this and you can't do that, and don't do this like this and don't do that like that, as opposed to being productive in telling people what they could do. So a lot of emphasis was on what you couldn't do as opposed to what you could do. What we basically did was cut out virtually all of what you don't need to do, because if you don't need to do it, in the main, generally, you don't need to know it, and focus on what people could do. And by applying the 80-20 rule, the Pareto principle, we cut a 5-week course down to 5 days. to 1 week, basically. And that's how we apply those principles. Now, this is all basic stuff, and you can Google this stuff and you can find out about this stuff and you can look at it and you can apply this in your own business, because everything you do should be working towards your mission. And in our case, our mission is to keep people safe, and you can look at our mission statement. I mean, it's below I'll put a link to it below this video so you can look at it. And we apply Occam's razor and the Pareto principle to achieve that first principle. Now, to prove the fact, one of our clients, our corporate clients, actually looked at our training. They got the University of Southampton to carry out an independent bit of research into our training and compared our training to another provider in the field, a major player in the field. And what they found was that our training was easy to learn, easy to remember, and easy to recall. It was legally defensible, it was ethical, it was moral. It met all the main component parts. And you can look at that research in full. There's an extract from it below this video, and I've supplied a link to that as well, so you can look at that yourself. Because, fundamentally, if you think about it, if it's going to take you 5 years to learn to teach something, that must be quite complex. And is the person you're then going to be teaching going to be able to learn what you need to actually impart upon them within a reasonable period of time, given other work-life balance commitments? And with most of you out there teaching, with many employers, you might get staff for 1 to 5 days max on a training course. So it can't be complicated, it can't be convoluted, it's got to be simple, and that's a really, really important point. So, the quality of your business and the quality of what you do is going to be directly proportional to the quality of questions that you ask yourself in relation to your business and the quality of the answers you get. Now, in addition to that, the other way we make this work is all of our trainers, including myself, have done an awful lot of training outside the box, if you like, not just your bog standard technical restraint type training. We're interested in how you function as a human being. So we've gone off and done courses on neurolinguistic programming. And if you don't know what that is, by the way, it's NLP. It's what Paul McKenna does and Darren Brown does. Very, very good. You can do a lot of accelerated learning with this stuff by learning good language structures. And on the language point, we studied hypnosis, and I'm also a qualified cognitive hypnotherapist, because hypnosis is very, very good at teaching you about language. So if you use cutting edge technology in the way you communicate, so your communication is more effective, then the people who are going to learn more effectively. Because, and I'm going to upset people when I say this, I know, education on its own, in the main, doesn't work. I mean, think about it. Have you ever been sat on a course yourself where you've been absolutely bored to tears? The guy or girl running the course has been, absolutely monotone or not motivational or not inspirational and no inflection in the voice. Well, years ago, I used to watch, I used to get up sometimes early in the morning, like you do, and put the telly on for a bit of distraction. And there at 5 o'clock in the morning would be the Open University, and there'd be a highly intellectual academic professor of something talking about something complex. But the reason he's on at 5 o'clock in the morning is it's boring. Unless, of course, you need to learn that subject to pass your degree course. But what people do like is entertainment. They like to be entertained. So if you go and have a boring training course, you come home, you put the telly on, you watch something that entertains you. Now, Anthony Robbins, the motivational guru in America who does a lot of NLP stuff, said, look, if you want people to learn, then do edutainment. Combine education with entertainment, because it embeds learning at a much deeper level. And that's what we do. So we use all these tricks and all of these processes to help you learn better. And therefore, not only do we maximize what you need to learn, we maximize how you learn it too. And we'll teach you this when you come on the course, by the way. We're not just going to teach you a rote-based system. We're going to teach you how to do this, because your brain functions in different ways. For example, the left hemisphere is rote-based. So if you need to learn rote-based training, you're going to engage the left hemisphere of your brain. But it's your right hemisphere of the brain that deals with spatial activity. So, movement, distances, and anything to do with three-dimensional aspects is the right hemisphere of the brain. So if you think about this, if you're learning a physical skill, you need to be able to do it. So you need to be able to see what you're doing, and you need to be able to visualize it, which requires right brain activity. If you learn rote-based bullet point movements, one follows the other, and you break it down to its nth degree, you're doing left brain activity, which won't work when someone comes to do it for real, because they need the right brain to be engaged. So you're training the wrong part of the brain. So again, that's just a freebie for you. You can look it up, you can research this stuff, it's all out there. And the research on this has been going back many, many years. In fact, back to the 70s in the Olympics where this was done. So that's another aspect we do. Now, what's interesting in NLP, when a lot of people do NLP, they come up with a strapline, some of these training providers, and they'll say, NLP, the difference that makes the difference. Now, a guy called Gregory Bateson actually wrote a book, and I've just got it there. I looked. Gregory Bateson wrote a book called the Steps to an Ecology of Mind. And Gregory Bateson was a brilliant guy. He's a brilliant thinker, and he was involved in all sorts of projects, including the space program. And he was the person that coined the phrase about the difference that makes the difference. The true aspect in this, as to what Bateson uncovered, was the real difference is in the way you think and the way you apply your thinking and the way that you modify your thinking continually to get the output you want. So if you are continually trying stuff and modifying it and changing it and adapting it to get the output you want, then you're doing the right thing. And that's the difference that makes a difference. Now, that's how we train. That's how we can run a 5-day course and qualify you as an instructor at the end of it. It is intense, but the learning is fun. It's meant to be fun. It's designed to be fun. There are no egos on the course. And we're going to teach you not only how to do this, we're going to show you how we do it so you can learn our processes too. And by the way, on the course we do loads of other stuff as well. You'll get lectures about how to grow your business. You'll get lectures about marketing. We're going to have people come in and talk to you about different areas where you use physical force, like in mental health, in education. And it's a very, very comprehensive and well-structured course, even if I say so myself. So hopefully that answers the question that gentleman sent in, about how we can run an instructor's course in 5 days. I hope that's comprehensive enough for you. And as Anthony Robbins said, and I mentioned this already, just think about this. The quality of your life is directly proportional to the quality of the questions that you ask yourself and the quality of the answers you get. Our primary aim from when we started many, many years ago was this question: is what we're doing keeping people safer or making people safer? That question is still at the forefront of our mind today, and if we do something and it fits with that, we keep it. If it doesn't fit with that, we get rid of it. So our training is evolving all the time. It's organic, and it evolves organically, and it grows, and it's grown to where it is today. And over a 23-year period, we can run an instructor's course quite successfully within a 5-day period. So hopefully that answers the question. And if you're looking to train us, we'd be delighted to have you there, because we'll enjoy your company and we'll learn as much from you as you'll learn from us. So that's all for now. I hope that explains that aspect of how we do it. And if you have any questions, drop me an email, pick up the phone, write to us. I'm more than happy to answer your questions. We're a very open and transparent organisation. And we absolutely love the thing we do. We're passionate about what we do. And if you're thinking about coming and train with us, why not? Because basically you've got a few choices. One is you can do nothing and stay where you are or jack it in. Secondly, you can go and train with a training provider who will teach you a rote-based system and engage your left brain to go through and learn something in a process. Or you can come along and train with us, and we'll open up your mind to all ranges of possibilities and potentials that you can actually do, and teach you how you can apply your thinking in what you do. And that's the real difference that makes a difference. So thanks for listening, and I'll speak to you soon.